What is happening, guys? How are you doing? This is Rob of Rule of Two Review. Welcome back to the channel, and holy frickin' crap, Streets of Rage is coming back. So weirdly, there's actually been a lot of fairly exciting gaming news happening today on Monday. The biggest, for me personally, is the announcement of Streets of Rage 4. Where did this come from? This is insane. There's a whole bunch of new studios that seem to be wrapped up in this game, and it was a nice surprise. No one saw this coming, and it's even kind of funny because I want to say 2 or maybe 3 weekends ago, my last appearance on the Spawncast, we actually talked about some Sega titles we would like to see revived, and obviously Streets of Rage was one of the titles that all of us discussed on that podcast because it's a great, famous series dating back to the Sega Genesis in the early 90s. Oh my freaking gosh, one of my favorite game series. Myself, my younger brother, and my oldest brother, we used to play all of the original 3 games, Streets of Rage 1, 2, and 3 on the Genesis as those came out. Though that was a series of games that we would constantly play together because they were great co-op, classic, 16-bit sort of beat-em-up games, and they're just classics. So like I said, there are a couple of studios involved with this. The publisher is .emu or .emu, not sure how to pronounce that, and Lizard Cube and Guard Crush Games are the developers of the game. So it's very weird. Those are studios, personally, I've never heard of. Maybe Lizard Cube is striking a bell, but either way, it doesn't seem to be a very Sega-focused game, which is very interesting for sure. But yeah, so Streets of Rage 4 is coming. They had a reveal trailer, I should say, earlier this morning when this news broke. No platforms yet and no release date. So we don't know what systems it's going to be available for, and we don't know when it's going to come out. I think it's pretty clear it's going to be probably like a mid-2019 game, I'm going to guess. And I can't imagine this not releasing on every available platform. PC, Switch, Xbox, PlayStation. It's going to release on everything. It just seems ideal for that. Unless there's some secret exclusive partnership behind the scenes that we don't know about, I would expect this to release on pretty much everything, which is great. Super, super exciting. So yeah, Streets of Rage 4, it's using a hand-drawn art style, which is an interesting choice, not a surprising choice. I'm overall okay with it, although I would admit I kind of would have preferred if it had a little bit of a retro throwback. I've been playing so much Dead Cells the last week, 2 weeks or so. I cannot frickin' stop playing that game. And I love how that game has that kind of 16-bit sort of retro throwback art style, that pixel art style. And while I do think that Streets of Rage 4, the couple of gameplay clips that they've given us do look beautiful, and I'm very excited for it, I think it's kind of a shame they didn't do something a little bit more like what Dead Cells does. In fact, I would have liked something that looked better than Dead Cells, but not like the cartoon hand-drawn style the game is using, maybe something kind of in between, so that it feels just a little bit more retro throwback. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to split hairs here, because it does look gorgeous, and I think it's great that we're getting this game. It's very curious that they've only revealed Axel and Blaze as the 2 protagonists, and anyone who's familiar with the original game, you can see the cover here, and then even let's switch over to the character select screen. Also, Adam was one of the main characters from the original game as well. And if I remember right, I think those 3 made it through all 3 of the original games. I mean, I should remember because I played them all, but also that was decades ago, so I can't remember. I remember them adding like a little kid on rollerblades or something, I think in the 3rd game. So I think they actually did start to change the characters out. But for sure, the original 3 were these 3, and the fact that they're bringing 2 of the 3 into this game makes me wonder why the 3rd character isn't there. I mean, if they would have had like one of the original 3, and then the other character or characters were brand new characters, I wouldn't question it. But the fact that specifically 2 of the only 2 characters they've shown are from the original game, where is Adam? Where is that 3rd character? Which makes me think that they're probably not done revealing characters. I wouldn't be surprised if eventually Adam is confirmed for the game, or maybe even a different character, or more than 3 characters. For all we know, there's going to be a whole plethora of characters to pick from. But just for the reveal, they wanted to give us kind of that nostalgic feeling and reveal Axel and Blaze returning so that it feels like Streets of Rage, like incarnate, only in a newer version with a newer graphics engine and newer combat and stuff. So that might be what they're doing. I wouldn't be surprised if Adam or other returning characters are eventually shown off, because, again, we don't know when this game is supposed to come out. It might be mid-2019, it could be like the end of the year. You know, some games, like Bloodstained, for example, that game has been delayed for like 3 years. So maybe, even though this is a smaller, seemingly independent venture, maybe it actually is going to take a while to complete this, and it doesn't release for another couple of years. You never really know. Either way, I think this is great news. I'm super excited. We're getting more retro love, retro sequels and remakes, and I think it's wonderful. This also comes off the heels of a couple of days ago that Toe Jam and Earl sequel that had been worked on forever. I can't even remember what it's called now. We'd been waiting for information on that, and only recently did they just confirm it's coming out in November. It's just a couple of months away, and it's coming out also for every platform. Another retro sort of sequel that's also using like a modern hand-drawn art style. Very excited for that. I'm loving seeing Streets of Rage come back. They tried to do, like, I know they did Double Dragon 4 like last year, and I think it was great that they tried, but I hear that it was really, really terrible. They tried remastering Turtles in Time many years ago on the Xbox Arcade, and I guess that was also really bad. But I love that they're trying. It makes me think of other games and other series I would love to see get the same treatment. I'm looking at you, Earthworm Jim and Vector Man. So there's actually one more thing that I wanted to discuss from today's news, and that was the reveal of 48 freaking minutes of Cyberpunk 2077. This was fantastic. This game, we knew about this game first announced, I don't know, I want to say 2012, 2013, 5-6 years ago, a long time ago, from CD Projekt Red, the same developers of the Witcher series, who we all know those are just huge games. Everyone loves those games. I tried The Witcher 3 and it actually didn't impress me too much, but I know I'm in the minority, and I'm still very excited for Cyberpunk. I always believed in what they were doing here. And there's even a weird sort of history with this game. I can't remember the fine details, but I think that, like, the code of the game was, like, stolen or something, like, many years back, and they had to, like, restart the game or kind of create it again from the ground up, or maybe they had to sue the person who was involved with stealing it or holding it for ransom. Something strange happened, and I think it definitely set the game back by a couple years. Either way, after all this time, the game was finally revealed and reconfirmed and given a cinematic trailer at E3 at Xbox's stage last year, or this past E3, I should say. And, you know, the trailer was fine, but it was more just exciting to see the game actually coming and having some footage of the game, even though it wasn't gameplay. And so now, you know, Gamescom has come and gone, and there's been lots of reports of behind-the-scenes sort of demos and showcases. A lot of the bigger press has been able to see the game in motion and get their hands on it. And all of those impressions have been very positive. But us in the public, us scrubs, we haven't had a chance to see any of it until today, when CD Projekt Red, again coming off of awesome success with The Witcher 3, finally decided to show 48 minutes of the game in actual gameplay form. Now, what I have to tell you guys, I'm very excited for this game, and so I haven't watched the entire thing. I've watched about 10 minutes, and I was like, I don't want to see any more. I don't want to spoil it. I kind of want to go into dark mode like I like to do for a lot of games. Resident Evil 2 is another game I'm doing the same thing on, the remake for that. So I can't like really discuss in detail everything that they showed, but from what I did watch, 10 minutes of pretty basic, straightforward gameplay, some slowdown effect stuff, and just the amazing visuals, the very fluid gameplay. All I can say is I'm blown away. I'm very wowed. Because I'll tell you, when that trailer played at E3 on Microsoft stage, I was like, oh, okay, this seems like it'll be cool. It's just a futuristic city using pretty decent graphics, you know, for that CG cutscene. And I was like, I guess it's just going to be like another open world sci-fi game. Like, we've played those games, Watch Dogs, Deus Ex, stuff like that. Games that I like. And so I was like, okay, I'm sure this will be a really good game too. Like, CD Projekt Red's a good developer. This will be fine. But I guess there really wasn't a way for this to turn out special, the way The Witcher 3 felt very special to a lot of people. But man, I was wrong, because seeing this gameplay, personally, you guys may disagree, personally, it does look special. And I can't put my finger on it, because just using bullet time effects is something we've been doing since the original Xbox, like in 2001, like Max Payne. And many games have done it since. And I think it's a great effect, and it looks great in Cyberpunk, but there's something about the gameplay, the visuals, the combat, being in first person, which I don't really know that I knew it was going to be a first person game. That was a little bit of a surprise to me. It looks better than I expected. It looks very unique and very special. I mean, part of it is having beautiful graphics, and you know I'm not a graphics whore, but when I see something that impressive, it's not like I'm going to pretend like the beautiful graphics aren't nice and aren't pleasing to me, because they certainly are. And so when I take the surprisingly impressive gameplay and I imagine a huge cyberpunk, steampunk, futuristic, sci-fi, open world cityscape to actually have this gameplay in, and knowing how well CD Projekt Red does open world games, and I picture it in this setting now instead of the medieval kind of fantasy setting like Witcher, I get excited, you guys. I am so on board. I was already going to be excited to play this game, even when I thought it was just going to be like any other game. But now it looks different. It looks better. And again, I know it might seem silly, reminding you guys I've only watched about 10 minutes of footage. It might seem silly because it's like, a lot of people might say, oh, it's just a sci-fi first-person shooter. Like, what's special about that? And you're not wrong. I won't tell you that you're wrong, because that's all it is, but it has a feel to it. There's a vibe and a tone and an essence coming off of the 10 minutes of gameplay I watched, and I was like, this looks pretty damn good, man. This actually does look pretty special and pretty fun. So every once in a while, a game that's about pushing the boundaries of what systems and graphics and gameplay can be does excite me. It really, really does, you know? And so I just am really happy that they decided to give us this long stream. For any of you guys who watched the whole stream, I would love to hear you kind of talk about what you saw below. I don't want to watch it, but I don't mind hearing you guys discuss it. And I just think, you know, hey, The Witcher didn't really grab me like I was expecting it to. I might go back and revisit it. You know, some of my best friends love the game. I know it's a great game. I think I just played it at a weird time and it wasn't what I wanted at that time, and I maybe didn't give it a fair shot. And so now that I'm just like, you know, freaking out over how cool Cyberpunk looked, it might be time for me to go back and play that game too. So yeah, that's it, man. That's just a couple of news stories that I wanted to discuss. Earlier this morning, Nintendo also revealed a Super Smash Bros. Pro controller for the Switch, which looks beautiful. And I almost got the Xenoblade one when Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was launching, but I decided against spending another 70 or 80 bucks. The Smash Bros. One, I think I might buy because it's a game that a lot of us are going to play with many people, and I kind of need extra controllers. And instead of having someone with a Pro controller and then someone else with two little single Joy-Cons, I might as well have another couple of Pro controllers. So I feel like I'm probably going to snag that. I don't think it's been made available for pre-order yet, but it was certainly beautiful. It was cool to see that this morning as well. Streets of Rage 4 is incredibly exciting. Cyberpunk looks amazing. And so, I don't know, I didn't expect all this gaming news this morning, but there was a lot of cool stuff, so I figured I would talk about it with you guys. Please discuss below. Are you pumped for Streets of Rage? Are you pumped for Cyberpunk? Discuss these things, and that is going to be it for me today. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule of 2 Review, and I'll catch you next time on another video.